My name is John Brink. I'm the founder, president, CEO of the Brink Group of Companies. I'm proud to be the presenting sponsor of Peter's Legge's Stories of Influence. My autobiography, Against All Odds, is now available on either Amazon or our website, johnabrink.com.
I'd like to thank John Brink for being the presenting sponsor for the Stories of Influence. Thank you, John.
To High Point University. On this campus, we are focused on preparing students for the world as it is going to be.
Hi, I'm Steve Wozniak, the Woz, and I'm proud to be High Point University's Innovator in Residence.
I'm Cent Marshall, CEO of the Dallas Mavericks, and I am proud to be High Point University's Sports Executive in Residence.
I'm Mark Randolph, and I'm proud to be the Entrepreneur in Residence at the premier life skills university, High Point University.
20 years ago on a Sunday afternoon, I received a phone call from Brian Tracy, and he was inviting me to join the most prestigious member-only professional speaker association in North America, made up of the top 20 speakers in North America. At the time, I was the only Canadian speaker who'd been invited to join Speakers Roundtable. Now, I must say I felt a little over my head, but I didn't hesitate. What a privilege it was to be asked to join. One of the members was Nido Qubein, possibly the finest speaker in North America, and boy, did I learn plenty from him. Our friendship grew, and I certainly was not disappointed in the learning curve that I was experiencing, and Nido and I became good friends. About 16 years ago, he was invited to take on the presidency of High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. At the time, a humble little university, that the university board of directors felt they needed Nido Quebein's wisdom, drive, energy to transform the university into a magnificent campus. That has defied the expectation of even the most skeptical people. It is a spectacular transition that you really need to see to appreciate. Nido Qubein mounted his creativity, his contacts, and imagination in transforming the university into a worldwide success. He says your beliefs lead to behaviors, and your behaviors lead to better results. Please welcome my guest, the extraordinary Nido Qubein.
Thank you, Dr. Legge. What a pleasure for me to be with you. And with an introduction like that, I'd like to be interviewed by you every day of the week.
I found yesterday that the university kind of subscribes to the Luke 12, verse 48 verse that says, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think that maybe started with you, because to whom much has been given, the talents that you have been given, the abilities you have been given, much is required as you have developed the university.
Well, that's correct. It's actually in our entryway to our Fine Arts Center here. It says, too much is given, much is required. That's the story of High Point University, right? So we've raised $500 million here in gifts without really even printing a brochure, but we've asked people to invest in this mission and in this work. And it's been a remarkable transformation, Peter, of an institution that was lost in an ocean of sameness, and that has graduated into a small pool of distinction. Our numbers show it, our brand shows it, our parental approval and their advocacy show it. We've been blessed and highly favored.
So when you joined the university some 16 years ago, give us an idea of how large it was in terms of numbers of students versus where you are today, 16 years later.
All right, so Peter, you've known me a long time. You know that I have been in publishing and advertising and real estate. I started a bank back in the mid 80s. I've been in retail. I've been in a lot of different businesses. And people say, how can you do all this kind of stuff? And when I was consulting and coaching, with some of America's, actually North America, some Canadians, best companies. And people say, well, what do you know about this and this and this and this? And I would go, well, I don't necessarily, I know that particular business. What I do know though, is that I have an understanding of the fundamentals. Knowledge does not equal understanding. So you could be a straight A student and not be capable of doing anything of measure. So it's understanding, it's comprehension that takes us places. And I always understood the fundamentals that make a company great, that makes a team great, that makes a project great. And so when I came to High Point University, I found a school with 91 acres landlocked. You couldn't grow, residential area. Everybody told me there's no way you can grow. Well, today we have more than 500 acres. We invested about $250 million in purchasing just property. The school had 1,400 students in total. Today we have 5,600. Our revenues were 28 million. Today our revenues are 350. In US and News World Report, that's the most important ranking for colleges and universities in the United States. We were number 17 with a score of 63 out of 100. Today we are number one, 10 years running, score of 100 out of 100. We had 3 academic schools. Today we have 9. We used to offer only BA and BS degrees. Today we offer doctoral degrees. We had 100 faculty members. Today we have 350. I think you get the idea. Yeah. We not only grew, we exploded. And there are reasons why we did that. And they're the same reasons any business uses to be successful, to be sustainable, and to provide appreciated value. And that's the key. Not just provide value, but provide appreciated value. Appreciated value means the person for whom you render the service must acknowledge, realize, and appreciate what you are providing for them. That's a skill. I used to teach it to a lot of my clients that a lot of companies miss. They think, oh, well, our service, our product are valuable. Well, great. It better be valuable. You should be out of business. But do the people to whom you attempt to provide this value, do they fully appreciate you so much that they're willing to pay whatever price you charge them as long as it's fair, and that they will go out of their way to advocate your business? And that's what I think I brought to High Point University, a comprehension of business. And then I was able to create a team comprehensively with intentional congruence that bought into the strategy and that has been performing at an exemplary level, and that has been providing an extraordinary education to every student at High Point in an inspiring environment, and certainly with caring people.
So you have an accent. I haven't alluded to that, but tell us where you were born and how you actually came to the United States and where you live now.
Well, I live now in North Carolina, and I came from the Middle East. My mother was Lebanese, my father Jordanian. I came here at age 17 to go to college. I had $50 in my right pocket. I could hardly speak the English language. And my daddy died when I was 6, Peter. I think you remember that. And my mother brought us up. My mother had 4th grade education. However, my mother learned a new trade, and she became a seamstress, and she made money to feed us and clothe us. 5 of us, 3 boys, 2 girls. I never heard my mother say to me, we can't afford that. I always heard my mother say to me, we'll figure out a way. So I grew up believing in the art of the possible. I have a can-do attitude. So at High Point University, I wasn't trying to be a president of the school, Peter. You know, my career was thriving. I was going to be the chairman of the board here. And the school wasn't doing well, and they begged me to come and take over. I thought I'll do it for 2 years, honestly. I fell in love. And I also found out that this is where God wants me to be, because the doors of opportunity start opening up, and we start succeeding in all kinds of ways. And so here I am 16 years later, and you wouldn't believe this institution. It is not what you remember at all. We have grown by leaps and bounds, buildings to die for. Our website doesn't really do it justice. Our videos don't do it justice. But obviously we're doing something, if not unique, Peter, we're doing it in a unique way. We are the premier life skills university. First, we say we're a God family country school. And then we stay with the Premier Life Skills University. So we educate you inside the classroom to become a master of your discipline. And then we frame that Mona Lisa with what you must know so you can excel in life, whatever your pursuit is in life. And you know what? It's working. It's working in measurable and meaningful ways. And I'm, for one, very, very grateful that I could serve in this way.
Tell me, well, what has given you the drive and the passion and the energy to make this shift from a professional businessman, certainly one of the top speakers perhaps in the world, to being president of High Point University?
Well, gosh, Peter, I wish I knew all that. I wish I knew the secret to every bit of success. The reality of it is, I always had a desire to do good. And I knew that to do good, you must be good. Being must come ahead of doing. And I also knew that your beliefs lead to your behaviors, and your behaviors lead to your results. And I always believed that I was created to do something worthwhile in life. And so whenever the command came calling for something worthwhile, I always stepped up, whether it's giving philanthropic money or giving my energy or my time or serving in some responsible way, just like you have done all your life. And in business, I came out of graduate school and I started my first business. I had $500. I published a newsletter called Adventures with Youth. It went all over the world. Within 2 years, I had 68,000 customers in 32 countries. People started asking me to come speak. One thing led to another. I woke up one day and I was doing 200 speeches a year. And I realized I wasn't doing enough for my clients. And so I began to talk about the ongoing relationships, as in consulting and coaching. And I find that the world responded to me. And so all of a sudden, at any given time, I had 8 to 10 major corporations that wanted me to be their consultant. The entryway was always via the CEO office. In other words, I had to have access to the CEO. I didn't realize that people would pay you that kind of money. My entry level was at $1 million in my heyday, or I wouldn't take the account. And I became proficient at my work. You're too kind with your description of my work. I don't know that I am one of the best speakers, but I definitely am one of those people who's most committed to provide the best service I can. On the platform, the platform comes easily to me like it does to you, Peter. But over the years, definitely I have honed my skill. I speak on this campus now probably 70, 80 times a year. Lots of times it's open houses for families or checking out our school. So it's a major presentation to make sure they like who we are and buy into what we do. And I'm grateful to the heavens because I've been quite successful at it. But forgive me if I boast. I've been successful at everything I've been in. Not because I'm smart, but because I understood the fundamentals. What I taught for years. I understood the fundamentals. That's what I teach on my seminars and speeches. And when people follow the fundamentals, they do well. I'm on the board, as you know, of a lot of major corporations. And in one corporation, which is the 6th largest financial institution in the US, about $500 billion in assets, about 60,000 employees. I'm the longest serving director, 30 years. What I understand and acknowledge is, as we began to buy lots of smaller companies, I learned a lot about fundamentals. What is it that makes an organization succeed? And of equal importance, what does it take for an organization to fail? You can take the word organization out with company, take company out with person. And how do you develop productive successes and productive failures? A lot of times we succeed in life, but we don't know why we succeeded. So if you don't know why you succeeded, you can't replicate it. And if you fail and you don't know why you failed, you can't correct it. So these are principles I learned. My mother used to say to me, if you want to be a great man, you must first walk hand in hand and side by side with great people. And I really took that to heart, Peter. I have dear friends like you, but like you, they're all successful. And success is not measured by money. I don't mean it that way at all. Money is only one part of a jigsaw puzzle for success. But holistically, success is about relational capital and reputational capital. And yes, financial capital. Look, you cannot give what you do not have. So I don't make any apologies about money. If you don't have money, you can't share it. You can't help other people who don't have it. And at Hyper University, I shouted from the mountaintop, we do not apologize for our success. There are way too many people in the United States of America who want to apologize for success, as if it's guilty if you're successful. No, 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 no. Success is not coincidental. You do certain things in your life to get there. And if you frame that success with significance, if you have influence and impact and you use it for the good, look at all the things that you have done in your life, raising money for all these wonderful organizations, just as an example, helping so many organizations get the word out through your publications. That's impact and influence. And when you do that, you shouldn't apologize for any of it. You're teaching other people, you're modeling for other people how they can do it. I'm driven by that, Peter. I'm driven by the notion that I want to plant seeds of greatness in the minds, hearts, and souls of others. Wherever I have the opportunity, I want to do that. And at the end, I hope my life will be measured by how I've helped others, not by how many awards I have or how much money I have or what companies I own, but rather what have I done to make the world a better place, one person at a time. And if that sounds noble, I don't mean it that way. I'm a pragmatic person, but I do believe we have a responsibility to hold people by the hand and to march forward with them in substantive and substantial ways.
Who has had the most influence on your life and your career?
My mother used to say to me, who you spend time with is who you become. What you choose is what you get. How you change is how you succeed. By far, my fourth grade educated mom.
You don't talk about your dad very much.
No, my daddy died when I was 6.
Okay.
You know, Amazon did the story of my life, and so did the biography channel. And anybody watching this can go to Amazon, and I don't know, if $2 or $3, you can watch the story of my life. I've been at receiving end of some enormous awards, enormous recognitions. I'm grateful for every one, but none of that really matters at the end. What matters is, as I said, the impact you've left behind. So my dad, so you know, when these Amazon or biography channel do the story of my life, you know, typically journalists would ask me this question: if you could have changed one thing in your life, what would it have been? I said, oh, I know the answer to that question. That's an easy question. If I could have changed something in my life, I would have much rather have had a dad who have read me a book, sang me a song, thrown me a Frisbee, taken me to the ball game or to a circus, or just loved me and kissed me and told me he loved me. My dad was sick and bad, and I don't have any recollection of any interaction with my father. But you know, Peter, out of adversity emerges abundance. When you least expect it, something magical happens. It was my mom, influenced my life, sent me to America on a one-way ticket with $50. And, you know, the rest is history, my friend.
Now, I've heard that story. I've never heard the one-way ticket. She didn't want you coming back. She wanted you to build your future in the United States.
Yeah, I didn't see my mom for 5 years.
Wow.
In those days, we didn't have iPhones and FaceTime and all this stuff. You wrote an aerogram, took 7 days to get there, 7 days to get an answer back. And that's how I communicate with my mom. Look, my life has not been easy, Peter. I have had struggles in my life. I have people all the time saying to me, you know, you've succeeded, you have the tiger by the tail. And I go, well, how do you think I got here? I remember people who helped me in the early days. I mentioned one of my friends is a multi-billionaire. As you know, I have a lot of those friends because I'm in Horatio, Alger. I know people you know. in Canada who are in Horatio Alger, are quite wealthy, quite successful. And yesterday I was talking to one of those guys, and I said, he was telling me that he read Norman Vincent Peale's book, and he gives it to his people. I said, well, Norman Vincent Peale was a friend of mine. I was 30 years old, and he must have been 70 or something. And my first book came out in 1983, and I asked Dr. Peale if we'd write the foreword to the book. I was a kid. Dr. Peale wrote me back, and he said, that's orders from headquarters. I'll be delighted to write the book. He wrote the foreword to my book, Peter.
Oh, wow.
I mean, unbelievable. He was at the height of his success. Now, look, we don't forget people like that. People who were there for us when we needed them the most, and who influenced us in this measurable way. We don't forget people like that. And so my life had a lot of struggles, ups and downs, of course. It wasn't easy for me to do what I have done or what I wish to do. But guess what? It worked. It just all worked. And now, Peter, I'm much older than you are. I could be your grandfather. I'm 70. I'm 72. And for good or bad, I erroneously think I'm 40. And so I act that way, and I still get up between 3 and 3:30 every morning. I study for 2 to 3 hours. I walk with a friend of mine who's the chairman of a mega company at 6 o'clock every day. And I come to work about 8 o'clock, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Most of the time it's 12 hours or more. I love what I do. I tell our students, you are responsible for your own happiness. Figure it out. What would make you happy, and do more of it? And for me, it's work. Unlike you, Peter, I have no talents. I don't play golf. I don't play tennis. I drink some, a glass of good wine every night. That's the extent of my talent. But other than that, I love to work. And my work is my play. And yet my play has amazing influence on the lives of others. I'm in the education business. I am today president of a university with 5,600 students, 2,000 employees, and about 100,000 visitors to this campus every year. And I'm the chief executive officer. I don't need to tell you what that means. I have to inspire, involve, engage, get people invested in what we do, and keep peace in the house. And remarkably, I've kept peace in the house. We have no issues on this campus. I get along very well with everybody, faculty and others. And success helps. Of course, success helps. But we had the Great Recession, as you know, in 08, 09. We went through it with a breeze. We kept growing. We just had a major pandemic. Most schools shut down and all that. We did not. We managed it. We rented hotels. We put our students in them when we needed to. But today I've got about 20 COVID-19 positives on campus. They're in hotels for 14 days. We have built a big clinic for them. We have transportation and food service. I mean, we're doing it the right way. We're doing it in an extraordinary way, and it just pays off.
Joe Siegel knows I'm going to be talking to you sometime today, and he wanted to be remembered to you. He's doing well. He hasn't left his house in 8 months, and it's a nice house not to have to leave. But he wishes you well, and I do too. And I thank you so much. Even though we had a few technical issues at the beginning, thank you for your wisdom, your understanding, your patience, and your enthusiasm for life and the gusto and everything you do. And I'm glad.
Peter, number one, tell Mr. Siegel that what a memorable night that was at his house, thanks to you who made all that possible. And that night, Dr. Peter Legge, you honored me in a big way because of all these fabulous speakers who were there. You came to me and said, would you please speak on behalf of the group? I've never forgotten that, Peter. I took that as a major responsibility and assignment. I hope I did you proud. And then, Peter, I would want everybody watching this podcast to know, I hope Canada appreciates Peter Legge like the rest of the world appreciates Peter Legge. Peter, you've spoken on my campus, you've spoken in my city, you've spoken at National Speakers Association. I was honored to present you with the highest honor as you became inducted in our Hall of Fame. I was so proud when your university there bestowed upon you a doctorate. I am your biggest fan, Peter Legge, and I want everybody watching this to know that. I have watched you and known you for many, many years, and you are the specimen of greatness in my book. I have all your books right here in my library because you were smart enough to sign everyone for me, and you've signed one for each of my vice presidents and my deans, and they all have your book and learning from your wisdom. So you've invited me to be with you today. I thank you for that. God bless you, Peter Legge, and all the good that you do in the world. I hope that our paths will cross again soon in person when this pandemic allows us to do so. You're looking fabulous, and say hello to everybody in your family. And I hope to see you again very, very soon.
You will. Thank you, Nido. Love you lots.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye-bye.